Good afternoon, all. Thanks for joining this webinar where we're going to talk a little bit about Project RECCE, a bit about how to recruit veterans into the construction industry and how to work with the charity and why it might be of benefit for you to, as an organisation, to recruit service leavers and veterans into your organisations. I'm going to be hosting it. My name's John Davis and I'm the Chief Operational Officer for Project RECCE. My background is the military. I served in the army for 12 years before leaving and moving into the world of education, which brought me in contact with the charity, and I ended up being part of the organisation, and that's where I find myself today. So I will first of all talk to you about the charity. I'll give you an idea of who we are, what we do, and then talk a little bit about how you can engage with them both as engage with the charity, both as an individual, as an organisation, to maybe help with what we do. So we were finished with this quote a few months back when we were privileged enough to have Johnny Mercer, the Minister for Veterans Affairs, visit the charity's headquarters. I'll get us back to that quote now. And he stated that having a job was the single biggest factor that affected the life chances of a veteran once they left service. And that if we could sort that out and maybe find them a home in the world of work where they were valued, where they were given the structured training and were provided with the ability to engage with an employer with in terms of their job development, career development, and everything else would fall into place, and it would help them resettle in a more structured and long-term way rather than looking for short-term solutions. So that's why the charity was set up. And what we're going to cover today is a little bit about who we are, what we do, how we do it, why we do it, and how you, both as an individual, as an organisation, can help. So Project RECCE is a charity. It was formed back in 2018. And can't seem to get that slide up. Was formed back in 2018 by two individuals. First individual was Neil Houlihan, who's the current CEO. He's of a construction background. He was originally a building surveyor and has latterly moved into the world of property development and construction. The other individual was a guy called Los Moore, who was an infantry officer. Los was discharged from the military back in 2016 and struggled to resettle into civilian life. Neil saw that Los was struggling somewhat and reached out to him and provided him with an opportunity to come and work with him. It was a success, and Neil quickly realised that between the two of them, they realised that this was quite an attractive route for people leaving the military, and the industry needed those individuals. And that's how the concept was born, and then latterly the charity was incorporated. Originally, it was a one-to-one mentoring scheme. It quickly moved into a course, which is where we find ourselves today, and then became incorporated as a charity back in 2021. So that's who we are. We have the front-facing team. We've got the CEO, who's still Neil, with his construction background. I sit as the Chief Operational Officer, dealing with most of the day-to-day activity, the sort of forward face of the charity. My background, as I've already mentioned, is the military, and that helps me to understand, I suppose, some of the individuals that engage with the charity. We report to a board of trustees chaired by Major Bernie Broad. Bit of a legend of a man, former captain of the GB Invictus Games team back in 2017, a full career served in the Grenadier Guards, at the end of which, unfortunately, he was injured in Afghanistan and now is a double amputee. But he spends a lot of his time engaging with veteran charities and making sure that we are having an effect. So we're very grateful to have him chairing the board of trustees. We also have a bank of 56 ambassadors, or a network of 56 ambassadors, made up of influential people from within the military and the veteran world, some of which are alumni or beneficiaries of the charity, that volunteer their time both to help in day-to-day activities, help with running the course that we deliver. They volunteer their time often to come on and speak. So it's a privilege to be able to have that resource and those individuals reaching out to help the charity. So what we do as a charity, well, there are core statements there. So we challenge employees to think differently about the military talent pool, which means that we have those conversations with industry to shine a light and showcase some of the skills that service leavers and veterans can offer the world of work. And we look to create career opportunities for veterans and service leavers once they leave service. And the key word there is career opportunity. So everything we do is focused on finding a long-term home in the world of work, and predominantly for our charity, the construction sector, where they will be provided with that structured training, the career development, and remunerated in a way that recognises the experience that they bring to the industry, rather than having to start again. So we're really looking at making that smooth transition from the world of work into industry. And it's all focused around a 2-week online program that we deliver. So it's called the Pathways into Construction course. It is all delivered over Microsoft Teams, and that means we can have a wider reach. We used to be a Northwest-centric charity that delivered everything we did face-to-face. COVID pandemic hit, we moved online, and we haven't gone back since, because instantly it widened our reach to becoming a national charity rather than a Northwest or Stockport-based charity. Course is fully funded for individuals who've got a military background to attend, so the offer is there for everyone from service leavers to veterans to reservists, cadet force, adult volunteers, and military spouses. And if they've served in the military, or they're a spouse of someone that served in the military, they can attend the course at no cost to the individual. There is a small nominal donation just to hold their seat, but that's all that we ask. Week 1 really focuses on the individual and looks at them, looks at their military values and standards, and looks at what sets them apart from their civilian counterparts and why they may be attractive to the industry at the moment. We focus on areas like motivation and leadership. We look at Maslow's hierarchy of needs. We look at emotional intelligence and problem solving and decision making, identifying bias and heuristics. We talk a bit about mental health and give them a day on awareness of mental health. Not only so they can spot signs and symptoms in themselves, but so they can look outwards and spot them in maybe their counterparts once they've transitioned into the construction industry. And we talk about fitness and nutrition so that they carry forward some of the elements from their military service, that really positive elements like the fitness regime and nutrition, carry that forward into the civilian lives. All of this is permeated with veteran success stories, where we'll have veterans that are out in the world of work or who have an interesting story to tell, will come onto the call and offer their advice and guidance, maybe talk about some of the things that they did well, some of the pitfalls that they would avoid in the future. Week 2 looks outwards to the industry. We invite representatives from various companies to come and talk, to introduce the cohort to their company, to the industry as a whole, where they fit into it, just to raise that awareness so that people don't think that the construction industry is all about laying brick or spreading plaster, that there are a wealth of opportunities out there that will probably fit every type of skill set leaving the military. We have a day of employability skills. We will teach them to convert their CV from military speak into civilian speak. We will talk about how to use online networking platforms like LinkedIn or like our own ERV, where they can we'll talk about hashtag use, when to post, and characters and images and those kinds of things, to give them a familiarization session on those platforms. And we'll talk about communication skills, looking forward to interview. We will then conduct mock interviews where the same employers usually will send a representative, often from HR, to come and join the mock interviews, and we do a speed dating session. So beneficiaries will get to speak to lots of employers, and employers will get to speak to a lot of beneficiaries on the call, and get to introduce themselves, and just give some time to speak to civilian hiring managers or people that they may have to convince in future were they to go forward for an interview. We'll have life on site sessions. We'll invite individuals out in construction already, possibly veterans working in construction, in some of the roles that service leavers and veterans and the military talent pool tend to gravitate towards. So we'll often invite a project manager on, or a health and safety advisor, or a plant operator, and they could come on and talk about their day-to-day life and what it's like to fulfill those roles daily, what their actual working day looks like, to just open their eyes to what goes on out in some of these roles that otherwise may be a bit misunderstood rather. We'll get them a health and safety qualification to get them on a site and a CSCS card, just to remove that barrier, so that when it comes to work trials or placements on a construction site, that first hurdle initially is out of the way. And then we will sit them down and conduct a whole life development session, just to again show that awareness of some of the schemes that are available to both people leaving the military and those that have already left the military, and maybe those that, civilian schemes that are available to everyone. After all of that, we will sit them down and get a better idea of what they want to do next, and try and facilitate that onward step, whether or not it is an interview, a work placement, a site visit, shadowing someone for the day, whatever it is, we will then facilitate that on the back of them attending the course. We then pass them on to our community, so that the offer doesn't end at the end of the course. They are then into the community, or into the RECCE community, to provide ongoing support. And the offer is there in perpetuity for them. They can always reach back to Project RECCE whenever they need to. The offer never ends. And we have an online community in which they can transition into, and then operate and engage with the charity that way. That's called the ERV. It's an online professional network designed in collaboration with JP Morgan. So we're very privileged to be picked up by the Tech for Social Good program at the end of last year. And we asked the team from JP Morgan of developers to create this online community for us. They produced the ERV, which is very similar to the platform you joined us on today, LinkedIn. There's personal profiles that you create on there that filled with attributes such as skills, experiences, education, your geographic location, and therefore an employer on the other side of that platform can then search for individuals according to those particular attributes. It's ring-fenced only for veterans and service leavers, so you have to import a service number and some service details in order to gain access to the ERV. So in there is a ring-fenced area that is just for the military community. On the other end is the employers that have been vetted and have shown themselves to be pro-forces, that we allow into the community, and they can advertise their job opportunities. They can interact with the community, approach people directly if they fit some of the criteria that they need for their job roles. But crucially, there aren't any sort of cold calling recruitment agencies on there that will spend their time sort of propositioning you constantly. It's a ring-fenced area, and that's really what we want to keep it like. Other features: there's a news feed, there's community groups on there, so you can create and admin your own groups within it. There are partner pages, so you can see which companies we work with and which other organisations we work with. There are the job boards, the opportunities pages, and there are resource centres for you to download resources that might help you in your transition. We enjoy quite a strong success rate. So of those beneficiaries that have gone through the Pathways into Construction course since 2018, we have managed to secure onward secure employment, long-term employment or education for 96% of those individuals, which we're quite proud of and quite happy about. And it's because we work with such polished individuals. The majority of our beneficiaries are service leavers or veterans that are well polished individuals, professional individuals that just need some advice and guidance and some direction when they leave service, just to understand where they best fit in the world of work. Once they're provided with that, they go away and do the rest generally. They go and get the job, and once they get that job, they start to perform really well. So they stay in that long-term employment. So we're very proud of that statistic, but it really is the beneficiaries that do the legwork. They typically gravitate towards a certain number of job roles. We're not exclusive to the job roles we point people towards, certainly not. But we find that individuals, particularly if they're leaving without any trade background within the construction industry, they tend to gravitate towards roles like project manager, like site manager, build managers, health and safety type roles, plant operator roles or driving roles, stores roles, that kind of thing. But we're certainly, again, we don't sort of point people at certain roles. It depends on where they understand they may fit in, particularly once they've completed the course. Why do we do it? Well, there's a number of cases why we do it. The charity obviously was set up as a charity, so we sort of hit the moral part of this argument. We think it's the right and just thing to do, to try and find people that have served the country a career afterwards once they hang the uniform up. So we certainly hit that moral obligation, and industry can do that as well, whilst also reaping benefits. So there are 2.4 million veterans in the UK. Clearly not all of those will be of working age, but there is a significant proportion of the population that have served in the military. There are around about 15,000 people that leave service every single year, all, I would argue, lacking a bit of direction, and all could need further support to help them understand where they can best leverage their skills that they've picked up in the military out in Civvy Street. So again, we aim to fill that gap. To look at the construction industry itself, there are around about 225,000 roles that need to be filled by 2027. So there's clearly a critical need for good people to come into that industry and help keep pace with the demand. And we think service leavers and veterans and the wider military talent pool are those people that could fill those roles. But as well as the moral case, there's a business case to be had, I think. As a private organisation, as a company, you want to do well, and the only way you can do that is by recruiting good people into your organisation that buy into your idea, buy into your concept, and buy into your goals and ambitions. People like Charlie, the ex-Royal Engineers sapper, who's now an assistant build manager for Walmart Dixon. Most, if not all, service leavers and veterans will display these key skills we've got on the right of the slide there, in that they are very quick to learn and pick up roles. They have to be, because in the military you typically move around frequently. You move from job role to job role, especially if you're being promoted between certain ranks. So you have to pick up a job quite quickly. You're not in the role generally for a long period, 2 to 3 years often. So it's a very quick, steep learning curve. So we're almost trained to do that. Leadership and management skills are imbibed in individuals right from day one, right from the moment you join any one of the branches of the military, be it the RAF, the Royal Navy, or the Army, or the Royal Marines. You are expected to act as a leader, right at the lowest rank. And that is imbibed throughout your whole career, and indeed accredited as you move through the ranks. So anyone that attends any sort of promotion education, which is mandatory within the military, will attract a civilian qualification. That means that people leaving after a certain amount of service, if they have been promoted through the ranks, they will generally have civilian qualifications to attest to that. So typically between level 3 and level 6 in leadership and management. All hyper health and safety aware, and have to be, from in barrack life to on exercise to operations. In the military, we work with very dangerous equipment. We are given the authority to use lethal force. Every single soldier, sailor, aviator can use lethal force. So often are using weapon systems, as well as moving around with things that explosions are going off, and operating in hostile environments. So they are high health and safety aware right from day one throughout their career. Very adaptable and resilient, often expected to complete tasks and achieve missions with very little resource in austere environments, to live and work in those austere environments. So are very flexible, able to adapt, and very resilient when it comes to those austere conditions. Again, from day one, expected to be effective communicators. You have to get your message across, you have to get your mission across, you have to receive information and then pass that on to other people. Often, critical information that can result in people losing their lives if it's gotten wrong. So have to be effective communicators and are trained as such right from day one. And expected to display military values and standards at all points. So there are a set of guidelines within the military for all branches, and individuals are expected to live to those values and expect to display them outwardly throughout their whole career, and will carry that forward into their next career. So that's the business case almost. We can also make a case for social value, that if you are an organisation that wants to display that you are a corporate responsible organisation, you can do that through generating social value through working with Project RECCE. If you do recruit veterans, you retain them, then you will generate social value. Supporting a charity will also generate social value. And we estimate we've created somewhere in the region of £3 million worth of social value through our operations, although it is probably more because we need support in being able to calculate that correctly. As an offshoot, you get to enhance your brand. You get to be the company that works with veterans, that provides them with these ongoing careers, and works with veteran charities. And that will have a positive impact on your brand. If you start to attract veterans and service leaders towards your organisation, you become known as a pro-forces company that looks after people, that provides all of those things that we would like to see: the structured training, the career development, and the reward in salary. Then you will see business growth as a result, as people start to gravitate towards your company. And we see some of the companies that we work with, like Balfour Beatty, like Sunbelt Rentals, like John Sisk and Son, starting to reap the benefits of attracting those individuals towards them, particularly in larger cohorts. And again, if you do become that destination, then you can almost create that sustainable career pipeline, where forces leavers will often gravitate towards certain companies because they know they built this reputation, and you can almost establish this sustainable pipeline of recruits coming towards your company. So if you are going to attract these individuals, then why pay a recruitment agency when you can sponsor a charity instead? We have to make the case that we are a charity. We don't, unfortunately, enjoy an endless pot of funding. It's a very difficult area in which to operate. It is certainly not a sustainable way of trying to run a business, let alone a charity, to try and rely on grant funding. So we look to industry to support our charity. That support can look however industry wants it to look, and we'll talk about that in the next couple of slides. But typically, if you wanted to recruit a number of individuals for a project, for instance, you would be looking at paying probably a recruitment agency or your in-house team to put in the hours to try and find those candidates, filter them out, interview them, and then onboard them into your organisation. We can do a lot of that as a charity. So instead of handing over 15 to 30% of a candidate's salary in a recruitment fee, why not look to the charity and make a donation towards us? Maybe an annual donation, maybe a donation per candidate. We can fulfill a lot of that requirement, but also we can help with retention because we can load them onto the ERV platform and also bring them into our sphere as a charity and provide any sort of support for any issues that may crop up in the near future, as would with any member of the workforces, clearly not just veterans that have any issues in the world of work. So we can provide some of that employment support and well-being. We have strong links with charities that can provide some of the other support where we might not be able to have, we may not have the expertise as an employability charity. We are looking for, or the value we get is in creating agreements with industry. So companies agreeing to work with us over a longer term basis. We don't see informal relationships as developing the charity as a sustainable model. We need to create these longer term agreements. We are looking at 24-month agreements at the moment because we're in a period of transition as a charity, having just launched the ERV. So we are looking at creating longer term agreements, maybe agreeing some events, some funding, some fundraising events, some annual sponsorship, and ways in which we can support each other from a charity point of view and from an industry point of view. There are figures attached to this, but I will stress that these figures are just offered as guidance. The feedback from industry is that you need a handrail to work to. So we will provide that handrail, but it is just that, it is just a handrail. So when I put the next slide up, please do not make sharp intakes of breath, hide under your desk because the figures are far too high for you to, I don't know, make the argument with your finance officers. They are just offered as guidance. We would like to attract these kinds of figures. Clearly, it would make our life a lot easier and make the charity more sustainable and ensure that we can carry on doing what we do long term. But really, the ball is in industry's court in terms of what you can offer. So we use the MOD's model to break down companies by size, and we would suggest, and again I must stress that this is only guidance, that if your company is a large company that employs lots of people and turns over more than £50 million a year, we would suggest an annual sponsorship of £30,000 as opposed to paying, again, recruitment agencies to try and attract some people towards your company. We think that is a small trade-off in terms of the amount of social value you generate from attracting these individuals and the demonstration of corporate social responsibility of making that donation or sponsorship to the charity. You're a medium company of a turnover between 20 million and 50 million, somewhere in the region of £20,000. A small company that turns over less than £20 million, maybe £10,000 annually, and then a micro company, maybe somewhere in the region of £1,000. I will say it once again that these figures are just offered as guidance, and really it is up to you to decide how you can best support the charity. For that, we'd ask you to become a strategic partner of the Project RECCE, to maybe name us as your chosen charity or one of your chosen charities, and we would start to work together on lots of different areas. We can help you with things like creating veteran networks. So clearly, if you became a strategic partner of the charity, we would offer you a place on every single course. You could address every cohort. You could supply someone to sit on every mock interview session. We would provide CVs from every cohort and allow you access to our CV bank. We would allow you onto the employment rendezvous to engage with the community. Currently, we'll allow employers on there, if they are signatories to the Armed Forces Covenant, we will allow you on there to upload your opportunities and have a company page, but that's where the access will stop. If you become a strategic partner of the charity, support us formally, then we will allow your individuals onto the platform to engage with the community. The veteran members of staff clearly can join it for free now anyway, but we'll allow HR people or social value managers within the company on to engage with the platform. We would suggest you things you can do now to help. Have a look at your organisation now. Who are veterans in your organisation? Would you like to identify who they are and create, for instance, a steering group or an affinity network? And then through that, design and create maybe a formal pathway for service leavers and veterans to join your organisation. Maybe identify amongst those veterans in the organisation who might be ideal candidates to be ambassadors for Project RECCE. and then please feel free to submit their names to us, and we will reach out and go through a process of appointing them as an ambassador. You can fundraise for us, conducting activities, make them as inclusive as possible, get outside, climbing mountains if that's the kind of thing you'd like to do, but also social events like coffee mornings and social gatherings where you can raise funds and maybe name Project RECCE as one of the beneficiaries of that fundraising activities. We can certainly help you with that. We have partners and agreements with organisations, often veteran-owned, that can deliver these kinds of events, such as the adventurous training type events, going up and down mountains in the Lake District, doing the 3 Peaks, for instance. And likewise, survival events, where you can do survival weekends, you can do the abseiling, the kayaking. We have partnerships with companies that can provide those activities. So please do reach out if you think it's something you might be interested in, and we can certainly help facilitate that. Other things you can do is to engage with the MOD Defence Relationship Managers or the Employee Relationship Managers to sign the Armed Forces Covenant, which is a pledge to say that your company won't prejudice someone who served in the military in any way, or someone who's serving in the reserves in any way, shape or form. It's a very pain-free process. We can put you in touch with one of the regional employer engagement directors who can take you through the process of signing the Armed Forces Covenant, and then maybe look at working your way through the Employer Recognition Scheme, which is the bronze, silver and gold awards awarded to companies that go out of their way, go above and beyond to support the armed forces. Okay, that's a presentation on working with the armed forces, working with Project RECCE, this kind of services we can offer, and what you can do to support us engage with the charity in the future. If there's any other questions that you'd like to ask, please feel free to reach out on LinkedIn, on Facebook, on Twitter, or X as it's known now, or directly by emailing me at jd@projectrecce.org, visiting our website at www.projectrecce.org, or even if you're a veteran or service leaver, registering on erv.projectrecce.org to engage with the online community. We do have a headquarters building. We're very privileged to be on the side of Werneth Hill, which is just outside of Manchester in Stockport. We look out across the city centre. It's a very nice place to work, got to be honest. And you are very welcome to drop in and see us at any time at that address there. Give us a call, let us know you're coming, we'll make sure we've got posh coffee on. And likewise, if you'd like to use it for your board meetings or your military network meetings, then please feel free to give us a shout, and we're more than happy to let the wider community use it to get some benefit out of the building as well. Okay, so hopefully you've picked up who we are, Project RECCE, what we do, why we do it, and how you can support it. And hopefully the argument's been made that veterans and service leaders are ideal candidates for your industry. And as a result, you may think about how you can better engage both with that community, that talent pool, and likewise with Project RECCE to maybe help what we do and create those pathways into your industry. If you think of any questions or anything you would like to ask us, please do reach out directly to me. I can answer everything, I think. So feel free to hit me with anything, and I'll endeavour to get you an answer. Otherwise, it's been a pleasure and a privilege to address you today, and I will hopefully hear from each one of you soon. Thank you.